All right, everyone. Well, welcome and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the call tonight. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Rachel and I are fired up to share with you this revolutionary phototherapy technology that we were introduced to 16 months ago. I absolutely love sharing about this unconventional healing modality because I have seen with my own eyes what this has done for me, for my family, for the people that I have shared this with. So you're going to hear some really powerful testimonials tonight. We're going to kick that off momentarily. We're also going to open it up for Q&As after the presentation, but just quickly who we are. So I am Beth Blackmore. I'm a health and empowerment coach. I started getting really passionate about health and wellness over 6 years ago when I woke up from my program mind and chose to do something about it. I started to make substantial lifestyle changes, changing in my food choices, eating habits. I lost 60 pounds. I ended up leaving my government career in HR due to lack of medical freedom. And I turned my passion to help others into a coaching business. So I consider myself a lifelong learner, open to new information and embracing change. So when my good friend Diane Hunt reached out to me about a light patch, I finally took a closer look at it. I invited Rachel, my co-host, on the call last May, and we were both blown away by what we saw, the science, the company, LifeWave, and the life-changing testimonials. So I signed up pretty much right away, and I did what any good daughter would do. I patched my mom. She had been experiencing knee pain for years. Within a few days, she noticed relief. She was going to physiotherapy 3 times a week, and the physiotherapist noticed more mobility, less inflammation, and less pain, and wondered what she was doing differently. And the only thing that had changed was the sticker that her daughter put on her. But it didn't stop there. She started sleeping better. She had more energy. She got back to being more active in the things that she loves doing, like walking and gardening and swimming and playing with her younger grandkids. And for me, there is no going back. The first thing that I noticed was that I was finally able to sleep through the night, having vivid dreams, which is unheard of for me. I also used to have this lower back compression pain, this tightness that I had dealt with for years. That eased up within a week of patching, and I no longer experience it all when I'm standing for long periods of time or walking. My energy, my mental clarity, and my focus have improved. I also feel like I have this sense of calm, so not as anxious in this crazy world. But what really fires me up is that I know that the best is yet to come. My body is healing and repairing and age reversing. There is also an incredibly exciting financial opportunity with the trajectory of this company. So more on that a little bit later. And just before we dive into these powerful testimonials tonight, to kick off this call, I'd like to invite my good friend, my co-host, Rachel Maurice, to introduce herself and share her story with you.
Thanks, Beth, and thank you everyone for your time tonight. Time is our most precious commodity, so I really deeply value you being here. And I am going to be brief because I know there's a time crunch for some of our guests here. And just as a background, I worked as an anesthesiologist in Canada for close to 20 years. I left in 2021 due to my own choices for medical freedom. And in that, I didn't think that I would be gone for very long. I started doing a lot of research and things that were confusing to me from what I had been taught for the previous 30 years. And in that, I ended up uncovering a lot of information having to do with how the body works from a completely different understanding than what I had been taught. And by that, I mean by the primary control mechanism of every single process in the body comes from light. Light is the driver of all of our physiology. That was super exciting for me to learn about because there were a lot of simple changes that can be made that are free and have huge impacts on not only symptoms, but our disease processes that we've been potentially labeled with in the modern medical model. So in that, I started diving in, learning about mitochondria, which probably can remember back to high school, learning about that. And what ended up happening was I came across these patches. I'm shortening the story here, but it was timely because I had then connected with Diane Hunt, as Beth said. I had a circuitous route to this, but I immediately was on board because I had been a deep dive into light and how it works in the body for the previous 2 years. So this made absolute sense to me. And it was timely because my mom's health was declining to the point where her doctors were talking about heart surgery. Having spent 25 years in the operating room, seeing everything under the sun, I wanted her to avoid any surgery if possible, just the nature of intervention. And so Diane Hunt was a former cardiac surgical nurse for 20 years. she shared with me not just stories, but investigations like echocardiograms, electrocardiograms of patients, people who had, for example, gone from being in severe heart failure, where you can only eject about 15, 20% of the blood from the heart, up to 40, 50, 60% within 8, 10, 12 months of wearing the patches, which is unheard of. It is not anything that I had seen without some kind of intervention like an artificial pump put in the heart. So right away we got started. I got started as well. My kids are on board. But I told my mom she had to have some patience. We're not conditioned to have patience in our society. It's a drive-through society. And I prepared her to wait a year. So I was shocked that within 2 weeks, she went from having to stop every 2 to 3 steps to catch her breath to walking for 20, 30 minutes with me without stopping while talking to me on an incline. That was, again, it was very surprising to me. Within 3 weeks, she had to have her thyroid medication lowered by her own primary care physician. So I am going to stop there and I can pick it up near the end, but we're going to get on to the testimonials again because of timing here. So very, very grateful that a couple of people have I've been in the company for quite a while, are here to share. And maybe we'll get started with Mark Delgado, if you can hear me, unmute yourself.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on here this evening. I'm Mark Delgado. I'm out of Colleyville, Texas. And I was introduced by a good friend of mine that I trusted, and he shared the technology with me. But he didn't know that I tore my MCL about 30, 40 days prior to his phone call. My orthopedic wanted to do surgery. I wasn't really on board with that. But it just dawned on me, if it worked for his frozen shoulder, it might work for my knee. And so I just peeled and stuck this patch on my body, and I did not have to have knee surgery. The discomfort in my knee felt like a knife being jabbed in my knee. And I can't tell you when it went away. You know, when the discomfort goes away, it just goes away. You don't think about it. Another thing was I was going to the restroom every hour on the hour. And I drove my wife crazy after about the third time. And she informed me 30 days later that I was sleeping. And if I was sleeping, she was sleeping. So we all were sleeping. And sleep is not overrated. And so that's totally changed in 30 days. And something that was never even on our radar, I had a heat stroke I'm a traditional business owner. I have a roofing business and an insulation business. So I'm in the heat all the time. But during 29 years ago, I had heat stroke so severely it destroyed my body's mechanism to perspire and regulate heat. So I didn't perspire from the neck down for 28 years. So if you can imagine, I'm in an industry or industries that I'm in the heat, and the sun and the heat, as soon as the sun would hit my skin, it'd feel like I was boiling inside, and my body would start overheating because it couldn't dissipate the heat except for my neck up. And so I really had to monitor my life for 28 years. And 10 months, June 23rd of 2024, I came home and I said, honey, touch my legs, touch my arms. I'm perspiring for the first time in my life, for 28 some years. And it's been life changing. It was a boohoo moment. At times I still think about it. It gives me teary eyed because, I can now go out, play golf with my son, which I hadn't been able to do for 28 years. I can go to the beach with my wife, do the things I've always wanted to do, and they don't have to worry about me, getting me in, having to, take me off in an ambulance or to the hospital because I just overdo it. And then recently, about a month and a half ago, I don't have to wear readers anymore. I got my eyes checked, and they just got better. And so as I progress, I'm now 24 months now wearing the technology. It just keeps getting better each and every day. And I encourage every single one of you to, just peel and stick the patch and let the body do what God designed it to do, is to heal itself. And then that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Dr. Rachel.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we also have Susie on here. Susie, if you can unmute.
Yep. Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. So my name is Dr. Susie Warden. I am a chiropractor outside of Chicago, Illinois. I got introduced to these patches probably around almost a year. It's been since the end of October of 24. And I was not looking for anything different. In my head, I lead a pretty healthy lifestyle, but I was turning 60. And one of my friends was telling me that she found a patch that actually increased our body's ability to heal itself, and not even anti-age, but actually reverse the aging process of our cells. And I kind of thought that that sounded a little weird and odd, like a little patch is going to do that. So I kind of like didn't listen to it for a while, but then she kept on, you know, asking me to look at the research and look at the patents. And so I asked her, I said, there's research and patents, but it seems like such a placebo. And she said, well, they can't patent a placebo. So I said, okay, let me look at it. And so I started asking her questions. Well, can it do this? Can it do that? She said, yes, yes, yes. If given time, it will work on everybody for everything. Just give it enough time. And I said, well, looking at the research, looking at the patents, there's nothing on it, nothing in it that's going into my skin chemically. And being a chiropractor, I've always been open to like healthy ways to do better, to have more energy, to sleep better, to have better brain, you know, work. I have a hyperbaric chamber. We have red light therapy. But I thought, you know what, this could be something that people that aren't at my office every day can use. So I started using it myself. I started sharing it with my husband. First thing we noticed was he wasn't getting up at night. So that was great. Maybe once a night instead of 3 times at night. His blood pressure went down. So he did not need any medication anymore. I had a patient that started wearing the patches for his shoulder. He's 81 years old. And 2 months into this, he went to his cardiologist because every year they did an echocardiogram. They looked at his heart because he had been in heart failure for 13 years. And he called me and he said, I went to my cardiologist today. He sent me the report. And he said, not only did she stop and look at my heart and ask me what I was doing, but she said, my heart looked better now than it did 13 years ago. And his ejection fraction was up almost 30%. And he said, is this because of the patches? I'm like, yes, it's the patch allowing your body to heal itself. He goes, this is amazing. So just countless things I have had myself. I decreased inflammation. Like I said, I was turning 60. So I did before and after pictures. And in 4 months, I didn't realize I was so fluffy. And I was like, man, I lost inches. I lost inflammation. I looked better. I maybe lost 4 pounds, but I thought that was a win. I put those pictures together. Amazing. My knee pain. I think by adjusting patients, I think I bent down on this knee a lot, and I would have to kind of move it a little bit after I sat for a while. I didn't have to do that. So sleeping so much better, waking up in the morning, just being energetic. And so even those things for me were amazing. So I think women my age are open to sleeping better, are open to losing weight and inflammation, because as we know, inflammation drives disease. So some other of my patients, they've had to they went to the optometrist and no more glasses. So super excited. One of my teachers would have to wear a knee brace, and about 2.5 months later, she didn't need any of her knee braces. So I have a lady also today told me that I don't take any anxiety medicine. I don't need it anymore. And she's like, that was something that was crazy, that I started just feeling more calm. And so you don't know where your body needs to heal, but your body does. And so this technology is the most exciting technology that I've ever been introduced to. And I'm super excited to share it with everybody. So thank you so much for having me on, you guys.
Oh, thanks so much for being here, Susie, and sharing.
Good.
I love hearing your story and the stories of your patients too. So thanks for taking the time to be here.
So if we could have Brittany, if you're able to unmute yourself, I believe you're in the car. Yeah, there you are.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Brittany. Yeah, I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but Rachel actually was the one who introduced us to these patches, and Rachel and I are good friends, thankfully, because I have a son who's actually in the car here with me, and he had a concussion a few years ago, and it turned into debilitating migraines, and the migraines started out like once a month, and I was like, oh man, this is really not great. But as soon as he started getting migraines closer together, they were coming every 5 to 7 days. And he's little. Here he's with me. Say hi, Riker. He was, and he's been on the patches for over a year now. But he was having these migraines every 5 to 7 days, and they were out of control. He was throwing up. They had to be in a dark room, like just everything, all the typical side effects of, or things that you hear of migraines. That's what he was getting. And as a mom, it was really difficult to navigate because I try to approach everything as holistic as possible, but I was constantly reaching for the Advil just to give to him so that he wasn't in so much pain. And then when Rachel was telling me about these patches, I was like, okay, I've got nothing to lose at this point. So I started putting him, or using the patches on him. We started June 1st. And like I said, he was getting a migraine every 5 to 7 days. And I wasn't sure, I didn't even understand how the patches work. I just started patching him. And the first week went by and I was like, okay, 1 week down, 2 weeks down. On the third week, I looked at my husband. I was like, he hasn't had a migraine in 3 weeks. And before that, it literally had been weekly, less than weekly, for months. I don't even remember how many months it was, but it was months. So we kept on patching. And he's been like, you know how you can see in your kid's eyes, like how when they're thriving. I hadn't seen that sparkle in his eye for a long time either. And these patches just brought him back to life. And he's still, he's got the little boy back. He's able to run and jump and play. And whereas before we were always like walking on eggshells, being like, is this going to trigger a migraine? Is this going to trigger a migraine? So we're beyond grateful that these patches came into our life. And I started using them and my husband started using them and my other son started using them. So yeah, we're all using the patches and very grateful for them. So thank you guys. That's our story as quick as I could tell it.
That's awesome, Brittany. Thanks so much for sharing tonight and spending time with
Yeah,
us. Great to see you.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
I'd love to call on Heidi now if you're able to unmute and share your story.
Hi. So my story, I was having daily energy crashes for, I don't know, I think it was probably around 8 or 10 months before I started patching. And that was actually the one of the first things that I noticed. So about a week and a half after I started patching, um, I just all of a sudden wasn't having the crashes, right? I didn't need the nap in the afternoon, which it was the type of energy crash where you're trying to keep your eyes open, you're trying to stay alert. And so that was pretty neat. Some of the other things that I've noticed, so I was having for the past over 5 years, I was having the skin on my fingers and hands. It was really breaking out and it was dry and cracked, and I was trying to get to the root of what was going on. And so I had visited with a naturopath and I had done, the diet and the supplements and done the parasite, killing and all the things, right? Um, and so we knew it was related to food sensitivities and some autoimmune things. And so what I noticed though is, while I did have some, it did help a bit with the diet, whenever I would eat the things, I would still have the reaction, which told me that I didn't actually get to the root of the problem to help my gut. So what's been interesting, again, I don't know exactly when it happened, but sometime within the past 6 months, probably closer to 3 or 4 months, I could start eating the things that I haven't been able to eat, and I don't have a reaction, which is such a huge and exciting thing for me because, yeah, I mean, it means that my gut is healing, right? So that's a big win. Another big thing, which I just noticed the end of August. So I'm quite an active person. I am a mountain biker and a hockey player and various other things. And so I've hit my head over the years, right? And what I noticed last year, which was concerning, is when I would just be walking somewhere, if I would trip or stumble, and you know how your head kind of jolts, right? Your brain kind of, does a impact inside your skull. I would get symptoms after that. So I would get a headache and I would feel just off for, a few hours or a day or two, which obviously was quite concerning, because, my brain was probably inflamed or something. And anyway, I had quite a major bike crash the end of August, and it was high speed, high impact, and multiple areas were affected. And I didn't realize right away because I was sore in all different areas, but I didn't have any brain symptoms at all, which is so huge. And I feel like I've also healed different areas way quicker than I normally would. So I've patched actually specific areas, and it's been pretty amazing. And I also patched my mom. We all patch our moms, and she's noticed her inflammation in her legs. The swelling has gone down, and the pain is better, and just different things like mood and energy levels are also really good. So I have a number of things. You keep thinking you forget, right? The things. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, Heidi. Thanks for sharing tonight. And I know when you took your bike out for the first time this season, you recognized how much more energy you had compared to, previous seasons when you take your bike out, that it was just, and I felt that way too. When I started patching in May and started going on my bike rides last year, I also noticed, I was able to keep up with my hubby who's, into mountain biking and trail biking. So yes, thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Thanks.
All right, everyone. So we are going to get into the formal part of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We will be opening it up for questions at the end. So you can actually pop the questions if you want as we go through in the chat. But if you can give me a thumbs up that you can see that I'm sharing my screen okay and it's all good. All right, perfect. Okay, so now that you've heard all these life-changing stories, we're going to dive into how this little patch supports your body's natural healing ability through your body's own light. And before I go on, I do want to say that LifeWave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. This patch is not a medical device that requires FDA approval. It is FDA recognized as a general wellness product. So did you know that the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age and the slower we heal? And that's because as we age, we lose healthy stem cells. And this is the healing and the repair mechanism that our bodies rely on. So our stem cells actually go dormant. So by the age of 30, healthy stem cells decrease by 60%. By 60 years old, those healthy stem cells decrease by 90%. And not only is this unfortunate natural aging process contributing to our decline in health, but unfortunately, the world we live in, with the modern age of convenience and consumerism, we are inundated with toxins and chemicals in the air, in the water, in the food, in the man-made synthetic radiation that is everywhere. All of this leads to cellular dysfunction, and our bodies require healthy active stem cells to heal and repair the body. And for those of you that don't know, I certainly did not know this 16 months ago, that stem cells are the undifferentiated cells that turn into any cell that's needed throughout our body. So they become your heart cells, your lung cells, your liver cells, your hair cells. And we know, stem cell therapy is out there, but where do those stem cells come from, right? What is at the end of that needle? Stem cell therapy is also expensive. It's not readily available or accessible. It's invasive, it's risky, and it's actually only about 50% effective because they stay local to the injection site. And so that is why regenerating your own stem cells is exciting and why this phototherapy patch is such a powerful option. So how do we activate healing with our own light? Well, phototherapy is nothing new, and it's actually something that all living beings depend on because the sun is nature's original phototherapy. It actually signals our body to make essential vitamin D, and it signals other vital processes in the body as well. But photobiomodulation, so this is a type or a specific type of light therapy, phototherapy that uses specific wavelengths of light to stimulate cells that promotes the healing process. It boosts energy production, it reduces inflammation, it improves blood flow, and it helps with tissue repair. And what's exciting is that it is accessible, it's non-invasive, it's affordable, and it's risk-free. And so what if I told you that these little light patches that we're talking about, they use this specific type of light therapy to increase a naturally occurring copper peptide? That is exactly what the X39 patch does. So through this process of photobiomodulation, this little light patch increases the production of human or our own GHKCU copper peptide. And this is known as the holy grail of age reversal. It is not synthetic peptides that you are injecting. These are not exogenous. They are your own naturally occurring. And just like with stem cells, GHKCU also decreases with age. So this unique copper peptide was isolated back in 1973 by Dr. Lauren Picard. And so there is 50 years of research out there. You can actually search it up for yourself, find all kinds of studies on pubmed.gov, which is an online repository of scientific research. So some of the incredible benefits that we know about GHKCU is that it boosts collagen and elastin production. Again, this is our own. It supports tissue repair and regeneration. It's known to have multiple anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, anti-pain, and even anti-cancer properties. GHKCU is also known to reset over 4,000 genes in our genome. So it's basically resetting our DNA to a younger, healthier state. But what is truly exciting is that this GHKCU reactivates our own dormant stem cells, and it does this through the power of this patch. So the X39 from LifeWave is a wearable phototherapy patch about the size of a quarter. This patch is made up of organic materials, amino acids, sugar, water, oxygen, and salt that forms a crystal lattice structure that reflects these wavelengths of light. And so what I love about it, and really what sold me on it, is that there is nothing on this patch going into your skin. They are non-transdermal. They're latex-free. They don't contain any drugs or chemicals or stimulants. So they're safe to use without interfering with any medications. So there are no contraindications because nothing is being absorbed into your body. It is a completely different mechanism. This patented product uses this process of photobiomodulation, so it's activated by your body's own infrared heat. We are all light beings. We all emit a low-level infrared light. We are all warm to the touch. So think of it as a mirror reflecting specific light frequencies back into the body, signaling biological changes at the cellular level, including upgrading the GHKCU and reactivating your stem cells. So now that you know how this works, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel to walk us through the incredible benefits of the X39.
Thanks, Beth. Okay, I just want to take a moment to reiterate a couple of things that Beth has said about light therapy and photobiomodulation, which is just a big scientific term that has become known in the nomenclature of scientific research that is light affecting change in the body. And for those that are unaware, there are over 6,000 studies on photobiomodulation in PubMed. So it's a real verified, documented thing. It is not something that is any kind of fringe information. So I just wanted to say that. And another thing that is, again, was touched on already is it's hard sometimes for us to think about how light is doing anything in the body. We think about the biochemistry and the hormones and neurotransmitters and everything floating around in the blood, which is why a lot of what a lot of medications are based off of. But again, as was said, we all know that we need to go out in the sun for the sun to signal certain bits of information into our body for us to make vitamin D. So the sun is not making the vitamin D, it's signaling for our cells to make vitamin D. Same with a tan. The sun is signaling our cells to make melanin, which is what creates a tan. So there's a lot more light signaling that actually takes place in the body, but those are two concrete examples that most people can understand. Now, these are just some of the benefits of the X39, and there are a whole host more, but reducing inflammation and pain. Now, these ones are quite critical. As Susie touched on earlier, inflammation is fundamental to almost all chronic diseases. So reducing the amount of inflammation can help with alleviating symptoms and even reversing disease states. And pain, we've got a good at least 30% of the population that walks around with chronic back pain. We know there's a lot more chronic pain. It is one of the subspecialties in anesthesia because it is so pervasive, that chronic pain. So imagine being now able to reduce or even eliminate pain. It improves strength, stamina, and energy levels. So that's not even just for people who don't have any strength or stamina or energy. It's also for people who want to take their athletic abilities to the next level because Olympic athletes and professional sports players are also wearing these patches. improves muscle and bone density, and those decline as we age, improves mental clarity and reduces stress, which again is also something that's really big. That was something that happened to me when I got sick in 2020. I felt like my brain function had taken a nosedive. And this really, within 9-10 weeks of using this, I felt like a light switch had turned on, brain fog had lifted, my ability to remember, articulate what I wanted to say just came back. It also helps with balancing hormones and easing anxiety. And that is also just the age category that I'm in. I hear a lot of that from women with hormone changes around perimenopause and menopause, and have had some amazing success stories around alleviating all of those symptoms that come with perimenopause and menopause. And anxiety is one of those things that a lot of times modern medicine talks about how when patients go into their doctor's office and they can't really find anything physical that's wrong, and they chalk it up to anxiety, but anxiety and stress actually literally physically impacts the body. So alleviating anxiety will help alleviate some of these physical issues that are actually going on in the body. Improving hair growth and skin appearance. This is a really big one that I like to elaborate just a little bit on, because most of us think about this. We know that it has to do with collagen improvements, and there's a lot of collagen supplements out there. There's a lot of drinks and other powders and such. But collagen goes much deeper than just skin, hair, and nails. It actually is the most abundant protein in the body. It makes up 70% of the protein in the body, and it forms the infrastructure for the fascia and the connective tissue, which spending 25 years in the operating room was just something we used to just push out of the way to get to the organs where the surgeons wanted to operate. But really, that connective tissue is made up of collagen. The way the structure of collagen is created is such that it forms these, what's called a triple helix. So 3 fibrils that wind around each other, and that forms a nanotubule of water in the body. And so the connective tissue and fascia actually touches every single part of the body. It connects every part, including inside the cells. And so this water network that we now see actually forms the basis of we call it a quantum communication superhighway, because light travels through the water network in the body. So the collagen is really what makes up that network. So it's extremely important beyond what is seen on the surface. It promotes cellular repair and wound healing, and improves sleep quality. And this is also something that I just want to talk a little bit more about, because I hear many times, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I only get 3-4 hours of sleep a night. It doesn't matter. I'll try to make up for it another time, which doesn't really ever happen. But the repair and regeneration that takes place when we sleep is very critical. It's not just about the amount of time that we sleep, but it's about the quality of sleep that we get while we are sleeping. And so if we don't get good quality sleep, we're not actually doing the repair and regeneration and fixing of cells that needs to take place. And when you have more breakdown than fixing, then that is where we have the decline in age as well as health. Next slide, please. Yeah, thanks. So X39, the long-term results, as was touched on earlier, again, within the first few days, over 4,000 genes begin to be reset to a younger state. So when I heard that, I thought to myself, well, what exactly does that mean? And so how it was explained to me that I can explain to you to understand a little bit better is, if you can imagine a photographer, a professional photographer has to have lighting completely perfect to create these beautiful images. And so you might have different lighting in different parts of the room, and those umbrella things that reflect light into different parts, and shading and all this kind of stuff. As there's use in the equipment and they don't actually function the way they're supposed to, you might have something that's super bright, or a bulb goes out, or there's a rip or a tear in the umbrella, and you just don't get the same beautiful image that you did before. So that would be a similar thing. So getting back to that new equipment to have that beautiful image is the same with resetting the genes back to the younger state, the way they had expressed themselves when we were younger, to express health as just a byproduct. Within 6 weeks, the brain becomes balanced. So again, what does that mean? It means the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain are actually speaking to each other. And we need communication between the left side and right side, and then the rest of the body and the cells, in order for harmony to be expressed and for health to be shown by the body. Within 3 months, collagen is increased, which I touched on again earlier. Within 6 months, the heart reverses in age. And I love this quote that David Schmidt gives. It's not anti-aging, it's age reversal. So how to wear it. This is one of the things that I love about this. There are so many things, but this is the simplest, most natural tool that I have ever come across, because you literally take the backing off. It's like a sticker. You stick it on your body, and we can talk about that in a minute. This lady has it where the research was done. So below C7, that little bump on the back of your neck. And you wear it for 12 hours during the day because it does increase energy. So you want to make sure you wear it, during the day. You take it off after 12 hours. You can either throw that one away, or you can put it on your dog's collar, which is what I did because there's a few hours of activity left in it. Or you can put it on a plant, which I've now heard some stories that it actually does wonders to help with regrowth of the plants. And then you want to put a new one on the next day, and you continue that. It's interesting. Lots of people say, well, do I have to do this for the rest? Do I have to use this for the rest of my life? And a lot of people go into the doctor's office and are given medication for diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever it is, and they are told they just have to take it for the rest of their life. But in this case, for these patches, it depends what your goal is. The research shows 97% of people see an effect by 90 days. So really, if you're going to try it, 90 days is what you want to, at minimum, commit to. When people say to me they just want to try a month, I tell them not to bother. When they're ready to start with at least 90 days, that's really when they should start. And the recommendation really is a month for every decade that you've been alive. And that is to reactivate all of your dormant stem cells. But again, it depends on your goal. For me, I'm all about prevention. I would rather not have to go and access the modern medical system if I do not have to. So I would rather use this as my preventative tool along with lifestyle, because this is not a replacement for a healthy lifestyle, but it's an additional tool because of the modern world that we live in. But I'm about prevention. So this is something that I am going to continue to wear. And as you had heard earlier from a couple of people who've been wearing them for a long time, the stories and what happens in their body just keeps getting better and better. More things keep changing. So you want to make sure that you drink plenty of water, not just water, but water with electrolytes. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and buy powdered electrolytes. It has to do with the water that you drink being held in the body versus just peeing it all out. If you just drank plain water, if you drank 3 liters, most of that is going to be flushed down the toilet. If you've got electrolytes in it, that helps hold the water in the body. But what I use and what I recommend in my family anyways, is to use an unrefined salt. So something like Himalayan salt, Redmond's real salt, Celtic sea salt, because those still have the minerals attached to them. They haven't been stripped. Table salt has all of the minerals stripped from them. So that is very different. You want to make sure it's an unrefined salt if you do use it, and you just need a pinch. It does not need to be overloaded. And you also want to make sure that you at least eat foods and make it an intentional attempt to eat foods high in copper, because this patch works through increasing that copper peptide in the body. You want to make sure that you actually have the substrates in your body to create that copper peptide, meaning we need copper. We didn't used to have to worry about that with our diet in the early 1900s because we could get 4 to 6 milligrams by just eating regular food. But nowadays, with changes in agricultural practices and everything being stripped from the soil and the foods and genetically modified, etc., we do have to make a concerted effort to either eat copper-rich foods or supplement with some type of copper supplement. So just a few examples at the top of the list. It's probably everyone's favorite, those organ meats. They are rich in copper as well as iron, and everything is in a bioavailable form. And next would be oysters, which I personally can't handle, but if you can, they're a superfood on so many other levels as well. Then there is seafood, shellfish. And for those that don't eat that, there you can eat avocados are rich in copper, nuts and seeds, nuts in particular, cashews, seeds, sunflower seeds, and probably everyone's favorite, a small square of dark chocolate is adequate. But again, depending on how much you get, you may want to supplement. For myself, my kids, I give them a desiccated organ meats supplement that has no fillers, nothing else. So I know that they're getting it in their diet, because we know kids, diets aren't always replete with healthy stuff. All right, next slide, please. So what to expect? This is also an interesting one, because we, as I said earlier, we are a drive-through society. We expect things to happen quickly. We go in for a surgery, we get an immediate result. We take a medication. Oftentimes there is an immediate result. Not necessarily that it's healing, but whatever issue one is experiencing will disappear temporarily. And every single person's body is different. And when we tap into our own innate healing systems, the body has a wisdom that it knows what needs healing in what priority sequence and where it needs to happen. So we all come to this planet with a different set of genetic instructions. We've been alive a different number of years. We've been under different stress loads, different environments growing up, different amount of trauma. So we all have different things going on in our body, and each person is going to have a different thing that needs to be fixed first. And just to give an example, my mom's friend who's 85 was so excited about starting these because he had these headaches that were not going away, and he started them. 2 months later, he still had the headaches. But when he neglected to tell my mom, which she found out from this man's wife, was that he was no longer wearing reading glasses after the 2 months. So again, the body goes to work where needed. So you might be focused on something. You might be starting the patches because you want better sleep or you want more energy, but your body has something else in mind, and it's going to go to work where is needed initially in priority sequence. So you might not even necessarily feel what's happening. We've got lots of people, that on our team who, for example, most recently, this is the second person I heard about who was in third stage renal failure, did not feel anything for 6 months while wearing the patches, but because they were in renal failure, they were being monitored by their doctors. And at the end of 6 months, they were no longer in kidney failure. Sorry for those that don't, renal failure, kidney failure. So just because you don't feel it working doesn't mean it isn't working. So I just wanted to emphasize that as well. And oftentimes, although this does increase energy, sometimes it can make you tired. And the analogy that I give to people to explain why that is happening is the use of a cell phone. So everyone understands a cell phone. You've got a full battery. You can use everything that's on that phone. But the minute you start to deplete the battery and you go to low battery mode, suddenly the screen starts to go dark. You can't stream, things slow down. That's the same thing that happens in our body when we don't have enough energy. So it takes a certain amount of energy just to run all of the processes in the body, but it takes extra energy for that healing. So when the body is signaling that you are tired, what it's basically telling you is you need to rest because we need to use that energy for healing. So we don't want you to exert yourself with whatever it is, exercise or whatever else you are doing. We need to put that energy towards the healing work. So just make sure you honor that fatigue, allow yourself to sleep, practice proper breathing, which is the best way to do that initially, just as a cursory and superficial overview right now, is to try to breathe through your nose, because that activates the diaphragm, which pulls in more air and oxygen and can get into the blood vessels. And oxygen is important because that is where in the mitochondria where energy is made. Okay, you can change things. So here we have some real results and some images. We heard some testimonials. We've got some images now. And this is actually someone, I'm not sure if she's on the call right now, but someone on our team who, this was a 6-month period of time where you can see the hair growth from the left-hand side all the way to the right-hand side. There's a real increase in hair growth there. And we also have someone whose son is 35 and had alopecia, which is an autoimmune disease where there is no hair growth at all. For 10 years, they tried everything. And within 6 days of putting the patch on, started to get some peach fuzz. And within 2.5 months, had about half an inch of hair growth, which is just, it's remarkable. On the right-hand side, we have an image here of what we call scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. And this one gets me every time because this was only 4 weeks after wearing these patches. Now, although it says here X39 and Ice Wave, the Ice Wave is just purely for pain, so it does not have any ability to help the body with regeneration. So that's purely from the X39, but you can see this remarkable straightening of the spine. And here we have on the left-hand side an image of a lady with what is called vitiligo. And that just means that there are areas of the skin that there is depigmentation. There's a lack of pigment. You can see the splotchy colored skin on the left-hand side. And she tried everything that she said she's tried everything for the vitiligo, which nothing worked, but then the patches did work. And you can see on the right-hand side, although the color is slightly different on her back, what's important is that there is a uniform color on her back. There is no patchy areas where there's a lack of pigment. It's a nice uniform color on her back. On the right-hand side, this is, might not be obvious to everybody, but it is a knee after a knee replacement. And that is only 2 days. You can see the incision and the healing after 2 days of using this patch, which is incredibly fast wound healing. And here we have a brain scan, a map of a 77-year-old woman who on the left-hand side, that was before wearing the patch. And we see there's a lot of red there, and the red actually shows inflammation. That's what the red means. There's a lot of inflammation. Dark blue means low activity, and the green and the light blue is coherence. So we want more green and light blue. And the middle image is only 3 weeks. That is a very short period of time. If you think about it, 3 weeks of using the X39, there's no more red, so there's no more inflammation. There is a little bit more of the green and the light blue, and there still is some of that dark blue, which is low activity. But on the right-hand side, that is 6 weeks of using the X39, and there is still no inflammation, no more red, but there you can see there is a lot more of that light blue and green, which is, again, it's brain coherence, which means the left side of the brain and right side of the brain are speaking to each other. They're communicating properly and effectively to then relay that information to the rest of the body. And that is how we express health, through harmony and communication. Oh, you're muted, Beth.
Thanks, Rachel. So now I would love to share with you who the genius is behind this incredible patch. So welcome to David Schmidt, this CEO of this 20-year-old company. He actually has over 200 patents to his name. He started working with the US government. He was actually part of the Navy SEAL survival program, where he was creating something that he could keep the SEALs alert, mentally focused on missions that lasted 36 hours. And that's actually where the first patch of LifeWave was born. And that was his first patent. Then through David's networks, he found himself at Stanford University, putting those original patches on the US Olympic women's swim team. And they ended up having amazing results. And they all set personal records. This was 20 years ago. But in 2008, David realized that the future of medicine was actually in stem cells. And that's when he began to figure out a way that he could leverage the natural stem cells that are inside the human body. So after 10 years of research, $4.5 million by 2020, he had received a 20-year patent on the X39. And so this company went from a steady state $20 million company to closing out 2024 over 600 million. 3,000% growth rate in 4 years. There really is nothing else like it on the market. And LifeWave has been recognized for this massive growth by Direct Selling News with the Bravo Growth Award, which honors companies with the highest year-over-year revenue growth on the Global 100 list. So companies that are not only scaling their businesses, but setting new benchmarks for the entire industry. LifeWave has now received this Bravo Growth Award for 2 years in a row now. And so, as I said, there's nothing else like it on the market. There's no competition out there because this is a novel product. And there's no competition because the X39 does hold this 20-year patent. There's a 22-page patent, but this one paragraph really says it all. elevates copper peptide, activates stem cells, improvements in strength, stamina, and pain relief. So the patent is on the structure, that material that I talked about earlier, the lattice structure, where the patch reflects the specific frequencies of light back into the body. And there are clinical studies that show the significant increase in the production of copper peptide, GHKCU, measured through blood samples, urine analysis, and other lab analysis. And in order to get a patent, as Dr. Susie mentioned, you have to prove that it works. So you can check out the patent, the studies, the testimonials, the great videos at thisisit.info.com. There's that website in the bottom right corner there. So really great website for videos explaining more about the technology, how phototherapy works. David Schmidt, the inventor, being interviewed in there, doctors being interviewed there. I also want to highlight the powerful testimonial page that really covers everything. There's a whole children's section on there, but all kind of parts of the body, and just amazing miracle stories and testimonials are shared on that site. So you can go check that out. And you know, what we've introduced you to tonight goes far beyond the surface, because it is not just about less pain and more energy, but it is about what that healing allows you to do in life. Maybe it's more confidence that comes because your body is finally repairing at the root. Maybe it's being able to go back to a job that you had to give up because of the pain. Maybe it's getting your life back. You're thriving instead of just surviving. Or maybe it's hitting new physical goals in the gym, or finally leveling up your physical game. And for some, it's even a financial freedom, right? With the momentum of this company. So simply sharing it with friends and family in your life, you can offset the cost of your own patches, make another car payment, or even create a life of abundance. And this is the power of this patch. So let me show you 3 different options that you can enroll if you're ready to get started. So these prices are in US dollars and for a month's worth of patches. So there are 30 patches in a sleeve, which is this envelope. So first, you can enroll as a retail customer, paying full pop retail price. We see practitioners in the state set themselves up like this, no strings attached. But of course, we promote getting set up with wholesale pricing of $99 US. So then you have 2 options to set yourself up. You can sign up as a preferred customer, commit to a monthly subscription, or as a brand partner. So we typically, oops, what happened there? Sorry. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so we typically recommend the brand partner option because not only can you get the wholesale pricing, but you can also secure a spot on this incredible team and leverage the momentum of this company. So without additional cost, there is no overhead. It is really just the cost of your patches. So what we often see is that people begin to, they're a walking billboard. They experience success with the products. They naturally share them with others where they can earn a commission. And sometimes they end up building a full-time business. We have many people on our team, including Rachel and I, that saw the opportunity right away and are building successful businesses. I know for myself, I feel like I can make more of an impact on people's lives, on their health, on their finances by sharing this out than I could as a coach. So when signing up as a brand partner, there's no pressure to share or build a business, nor, as I said, is there an additional investment or commitment. You are just paying for the cost of your personal patches. And so there are several enrollment kits that you get to choose from to get started. So as you can see with these packages, the core, the advanced, the premium, the more you purchase upon signing up, the better the value. The cost of the sleeves come down considerably for that initial order. You can upgrade anytime through these enrollment kits and just pay the difference and receive the difference in the number of sleeves. That way you can start sharing them out, friends and family in your life, your aging parents, loan them out to people as they wait for their order, right? It's really fun to get people started while they wait for their order to come in the mail. Having extra sleeves on hand, you can really set yourself up for success right out of the gate. And we do have a very attractive compensation plan for those interested in sharing the product. It's a binary compensation plan where you're building 2 teams, a right leg, a right team and a left team. And so to hit the first rank and open up the full compensation plan, it's as easy as sharing with 4 people that you love and you hit the first rank of manager. It took me a couple of weeks to hit this rank when I first started, but just mid-August, I hit the second highest rank in the company, presidential director. And so in just 15 months with the company, I've been able to surpass the monthly income that I earned in my 23-year career in HR, and I am a newbie in direct sales. And so it goes to show that we have an incredible leadership team that you too can leverage. And so this company is on this massive trajectory. Our team is the #1 team in the whole company. It has incredible leadership and supports and training in place to grow your own business. No prior experience or training in sales or network marketing required, just a passion to help people with the freedom model, health freedom, financial freedom, and time freedom. But it all starts with your health. Nothing else matters without your health. Health is foundational. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the call tonight and being open to learning about this unconventional healing modality. Please reach out to the person who invited you on the call, and they will guide you and set you up with the best pricing and package available. We would love to open it up for questions to those new on the call tonight. But to kick it off, my closing question for you is, what if investing in your health gave you the greatest return of your life? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you're wanting to ask questions, feel free to put up your hand. I'm just going to check the chat really quick. Any questions? So Keith indicated, repaired my kidneys over the last 7 months. Blood pressure has decreased. Yeah, tons of stories about blood pressure regulating. People, having to come off their meds because their body is, functioning more optimally. That's great to hear, Keith. Thanks for sharing. Carolyn is asking, by what mechanism does it reduce anxiety? So, I mean, we talked about the brain inflammation, in terms of, more brain coherence and that kind of thing with the topography, EEG. But it also, it does help to regulate the nervous system as well. So in terms of the mechanism, I don't know if Rachel, if you wanted to comment on that further.
Well, what I would say is if you look up GHKCU, because it's through GHKCU, that copper peptide, that everything is done. The patch increases the naturally occurring GHKCU. So there's 50 years of research there. I mean, it resets over 4,000 genes. I don't know what all the 4,000 genes are. I know a handful of them, but it helps with increasing GABA. I mean, when people get better sleep, that helps with it as well. But it also increases melatonin. Melatonin is a huge one that most of the general population just focuses on the sleep aspect of it, but it is really it's so much more. There's so much more to melatonin, and that also helps with just everything in the body with repair, regeneration. And when things are functioning better, you have less of all of the other, for lack of a better way of saying it right now, cytokines, like all of the biochemistry that's floating around that causes a lot of more inflammation and just problems that arise. So yeah, I would recommend looking at GHKCU and PubMed if you want a more deep dive into that answer. But I see you unmuted, Carolyn.
Sure. No, thank you. I guess I have an issue with Lyme, and I think Lyme generates anxiety. I had mold previously, and that generates anxiety as well. Like especially the mold. I think I may have stirred up some of the mold, and so I've been having some anxiety that way. And I'm just aware that there's different types of anxiety. Like there's literally like very emotional based anxiety, but I'm having sort of a biological based. And yes, I've heard about brain inflammation and that causing anxiety too. So I would imagine that it's probably reducing my brain inflammation. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for that.
And just to add to that as well, there's a lot that happens, like you were saying, happens to our physical body that can then cause the anxiety. And there's a lot of the man-made electromagnetic frequencies that are being ramped up, and the increases in the 5G and the Wi-Fi in the homes and the wearables, and it's hard to get away from that stuff. There are some things that can help with mitigating, but that is also yeah, there is something about the patches that helps with that as well.
And maybe just, I'm going to add a little about the glutathione, that the X39 can also help increase our own master antioxidant glutathione by 30%. So when we talk about detoxing, that's another important aspect that the X39 also provides the body. I just see Lori's question. So just wondering if any echo, ultrasound, x-rays have been done for some of these people that have improved cardiac function and knee pain. Rachel's mom.
Yeah, so that's why I said when I started, my friend Diane Hunt, our friend, she was showing me echocardiograms. That's why I was so stunned by it, because it wasn't just stories. But again, as Susie said, her patient that was using the patches, she didn't share the patches with this patient of hers. These are patients that were coming in who were using there are a lot of patients who are introducing these to their doctors. And he was using it for his shoulder, but just happened to go to his cardiologist because he was getting follow-ups and had an echocardiogram that showed an improved ejection fraction of 30%. So, and Diane has so many stories because she spent 20 years in the cardiac surgical suite, and she talked about patients who had refractory rhythm disturbances, especially like atrial fibrillation, and it takes, again, it's different timing for different people, but people who had, been cardioverted like 5 times, and they just did not stay out of AFib, with these patches staying out of AFib in normal sinus rhythm. And I've just more and more stories. It's unbelievable. And it's just the best part of it, in my opinion, really is the fact that it's enhancing what your body already knows how to do. So there's no external introduction of anything exogenous. And I know there was a question somewhere, and I just wanted to add this. The one thing that I know that David Schmidt is very careful about the wording of things, because the patch does not do anything. The patch helps the body. But with patients who have had, or people who have had an organ transplant, they are, for the most part, on immunosuppressives so that their immune system doesn't reject a foreign body, because an organ from someone else is considered foreign in the body, and our body naturally would just want to reject it. That's the way our body works. So these patches enhance our immune system. So someone who has an organ transplant would definitely need to be careful. If it were me, I would not be using it, because it can enhance the rejection of the organ. However, as Beth said, the company's 20 years old. There are other patches that were created beforehand that there are many benefits to those ones for someone who has an organ transplant.
So Joyce had a question. Are there things that you shouldn't use while using the patch, such as vaping, alcohol, and weed? So, I mean, being a health coach myself, and, I think, the majority of people realize that these are detrimental to our health anyway. And so I just firmly believe that this is the cherry on the top. So when we talk about, having a healthy lifestyle, I truly believe that that is still, the key to optimizing our health. And this is something that is going to further that effort. So it's not like there are necessarily rules around, contraindications, but I don't think that it's going to help, to get the best benefit and be efficient when we are, polluting our bodies and poisoning our bodies with a variety of different things, let alone those 3 things. So what are we eating? What is our lifestyle? How are we managing stress? I mean, all of those I feel are major contributing factors. And this is in addition to a healthy lifestyle.
And I would just add, Beth, as well, that what I've found with a lot of people, and just an example, this person has been on a Zoom sharing before. So he was an alcoholic, drinking 16 beer a day, and a lot of other things when he was younger, but now still drinking 16 beer a day, and had lost hope, a lot of other things, diabetic, poor wound healing, depression, had 2 children, and just actually did not care too much about his life anymore. And finally, after there was the threat of amputating a foot, A mutual friend said, would you just try the patches already? And he had, honestly, it's still hard to believe, but within a week, that wound healed that had not healed with oral and IV antibiotics. And he started to experience some other um, feeling of uplifting feeling, that the anxiety going away, depression going away. And without trying, because he didn't want to change other things going on, his diet, his drinking, all that stuff, he wanted to see what the patches would do for him. He's now down to drinking 3 beer a day. He said it wasn't because he was making an effort to do that. He just did not feel like it anymore. And he's now got hope, and he's now motivated to change things in his lifestyle that he wasn't before. So a lot of times this can kickstart people into then making the lifestyle changes that we all know we should be doing. And okay, so Lori, you asked, what do the patches stay on very well when exercising and your skin gets sweaty? So for the most part, I have not had any issue with the patches falling off. You want to make sure you put them on clean, dry skin. If you put them on a hairy spot, like some guys have said that they don't stick, and I'm like, where are you putting it? And they're putting it in hairy spots. So the stickiness it's not going to stick well to begin with. I know my daughter has complained. She graduated, but she was dancing competitively, and she used to complain that they would come off. And so she just stuck them on the inside of her exercise top, so that it stayed close to her. And, that's something that we didn't mention as well. If anyone's got sensitive skin, or there are issues with, because it is medical grade glue, stickiness, tape that is used, 1 in 10,000 people have a reaction. You can just stick it on the inside of your clothing. So the other side works the same way. It will also reflect the light. So it doesn't have to be stuck on your body as well. So that's another option. But I mean, I've used them in saunas, I've used them in baths, ocean, lakes, and they have been totally fine. They haven't come off me. So.
That's an interesting question, Lori, too. How much time do I have to commit to be able to make a decent income selling these patches? I have a friend with me asking. I mean, this is really about, the time and energy and effort that you put into the business and plugging into the system. A decent income, I mean, it depends on what your goals are and what that decent income looks like. But I mean, it can be fairly quick if you are sharing it with even just your friends and family, not even necessarily, outside of your network, of your own kind of personal network. Then it's like, okay, well, what kind of goals are you wanting to establish? And is that then, you're making more of an effort in building your network and sharing this out more broadly. So I think it's a very, I don't know, it's a very objective question. But just, I think rest assured that there are many people on this call that have been very successful with this business. And a lot of us are doing it full time because it has been so fruitful for us. And we don't have network marketing experience. We have an amazing team that we tap into, that you would be able to tap into. So I feel very blessed to be on this team. With our amazing leadership and upline, there is no doubt. I mean, in terms of the fastest growing team in the organization, yeah, we're part of it. We're part of it. And that's why we're so excited to share this out. Both Rachel and I, as coaches, leaving the system, leaving our identity behind in terms of leaving our careers, and then becoming independent business owners and coaches, we've made that transition. But then this, came into our lap. This was another tool in our toolkit. And I'm sure for Rachel, this is now our full-time gig, and it's a very generous compensation plan, as long as you are putting in the time, energy, and effort and plugging into the system that is already there. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It is about learning and being coachable, personal growth and development, and being strong leaders, and growing and changing and being open.
If I can just add as well, I don't know, Lori, if the person with you is also in healthcare, but for myself, when I came across this was purely for my mom and getting her health back. And I was not thinking, I didn't care how I was going to get my hands on these, but I was going to get my hands on them. And I'm sure in the same capacity that you're in, there's a lot of people that tell you health problems, right? And you know, a lot of people that are suffering around you that are not necessarily getting resolution from the different things that they're trying. And I just naturally started sharing because my mom, you know, had these results. And so she started talking to her friends. I started sharing. A friend of mine who had sciatica for 5 years, it was gone in 3 hours. I just said, are you open to trying this? Like, other things aren't working. There's no harm that can come from this. And it's hard not to share. Like, this seems like something that is very different from, let's say, other network marketing. Like Beth said, it's not a Me Too product, and it doesn't, in my opinion, we're not selling. It's really, you're actually helping people with their health, and you come from that background, and it's just, that's naturally in you, and it's hard. It feels unethical not to share when you see the absolutely incredible transformations that we are seeing with people. And I mean, you know, like, I walked away, right? And I didn't know what I was going to do, staying away and realizing that I wasn't going to be going back. And I poured a lot of money, I borrowed a lot of money into learning about business. This was before coming across the patches, because I was thinking I needed to start something to help people with their health from a holistic standpoint. But I spent over 100,000 with recertifications, with coaching, because I didn't come from any kind of business background. This company, I can't even tell you, because this is after spending all the money, the training, the leadership, the integrity, the character, the ethics, the heart of the people that are in this company and on our team are bar none. Like, you will get everything if you want it, right? And I, you know, I haven't really shared this yet, but I am at a place, because I didn't work full time because I wanted to be home with my kids. So I didn't make what a full-time anesthesiologist would make, but I am close to half of what I made when I left. And that was, I wasn't even thinking about the business. I started when I was sharing, I thought, and money started coming in. It was last fall. I thought, well, what if I actually put effort into this? What if I actually focus on this? And I don't know, it doesn't feel like work to me, because it's really, I'm very passionate about helping people with their health, because I think that is of top priority in the world today. Sorry, thanks for allowing me to go on, and people are still on here. And then there was a question, Carolyn. I'm not sure if you were on earlier, but the body, each person's body is going to decide what needs priority in what sequence. So we can't generalize as to what's going to happen first. What, you know, that we hear, because we're on so many Zooms all the time, we hear so many different things. One person, one of our leaders, she shared it with her friend before she even had any results. And her friend's plantar fasciitis went away in, like, I don't know how many days, was it like 3 days or something? But her knee issue, I think it was her knee issue, didn't go away for 2.5 months. So everybody's different.
I had a second part to that of just like, what illnesses is it most helpful for? Like, it sounds like heart and brain and I don't know. Like, you know, like a hospital, they're very good at if you're in a car accident or if you have something, if you break a bone, stuff like that. Like, I think every modality has its strengths and maybe its weaknesses. I'm just wondering if you could speak to like what is really, I don't know. Is there like, is there areas where it's stronger and weaker, I guess?
So what I would say to that, and yes, modern medicine is great when it comes to acute care medicine. The advancements are, you know, at this point, bar none. But really, the way I look at health now, modern medicine has done such a great job at specializing and subspecializing and dividing the body up into specific parts and labeling. Like, there's over 36,000 names of diseases now, right? But What it boils down to is cellular dysfunction. It's just where that cellular dysfunction takes place, where you're going to see symptoms, and then it's given a name, and people, I don't know, feel more comfortable with some kind of label. And really, it is about cellular dysfunction, and these patches work on cellular repair and regeneration. So it really works on everything, including mental and emotional. I mean, that's a lot of things that, again, because of the timing, Beth and I now have been in for 16 months, but so many people who say they want to start the patches. I'll just give an example of this one lady, who's the sister of a friend of mine who started. She had pain all over her body. She's relatively young, like in her early 40s, but chronic pain. She didn't tell me about this other stuff until 2 months after she started the patches. She saw her mom have absolutely incredible results with pain, even after surgery, not needing anything. Like she had in the recovery room, like one dose of IV narcotics, then went home with Tylenol, like, and nothing else. And she, anyways, that's an aside. I know her other foot, nothing touched, nothing, none of the narcotics touched anything, but she had incredible results right away with the pain, but the daughter did not. And she was like, okay, I just have to be patient. I have to be patient. Then she messaged me and she phoned me a couple months later and she said, I didn't share this with you, but she said, I had severe depression. I've been hospitalized in the psychiatric ward, in and out of the hospital the last 15 years. She goes, I wake up, I don't care about life. I get through the day. I wake up what I call black. And she's like, that has lifted. She wasn't expecting that. She didn't disclose that. But so many people who use the patches for something physical, surprised by the emotional changes that and the mental and emotional changes that happen. And some people don't even realize they were under that stress or that had that depression or anxiety until that was lifted.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't think of it as being such an emotional thing. I mean, I get the mental clarity and thing, but yeah, I mean, because I guess in my life I've experienced having emotionally based anxiety, and so and then I've had the also, as I say, the physical based anxiety, like the toxins and the killing off parasites and that making me really wired and strange. And yeah, I'd be so interested in a case like that, like really understanding like what the basis of her depression was, or you know what I mean. And yeah, that's the big thing for me, is like I want to understand it better. I want to understand the scientific end of it more. So yeah.
I get that. I can appreciate that. And I can also appreciate sometimes we can get in our own way when we try to analyze things too much.
Mm-hmm.
The analysis, paralysis by analysis, right? Like when we're getting ready to do something and we spend like 30 years getting ready.
Yeah.
So, Marcia.
Yeah, I just want to talk about an experience I've had. So I've had several benefits from this, but this is something that, for me, I have deep intuition, and this patch is working on a very deep intuitive level. Why do I say that? I've been a hardcore vegetarian for 52 years. I'm 73 and I've been vegetarian since 21. For the past month, I've been thinking about salmon. Why am I thinking about salmon? Why would a vegetarian think about salmon? And then I started feeling into the seal. I'm thinking, a seal? Why a seal and a salmon? So then I talked to a friend of mine and I said, why am I thinking about a seal? He said, well, because he's on the patch too. He said, because your body's telling you that you want to take omega-3s with the seal. Anyways, I did some research and it turns out that the seal omega-3s are better than fish oils because they have, what is it that they have that's contained in the mother's milk, Rachel? Is the DH.
Well, DHA is that's the omega-3s in seafood. But
Yeah, there's something else that's in the mother's milk that's in the seal in a higher quantity. DPA, that's right, DPA. So my body was telling me, you're going to start having salmon. So I went out and got salmon, and I'm having my first bite of salmon tomorrow. So I'm just saying that it's telling me what my body needs. So anyways, I know that's quite
Interesting.
quite radical. So basically, I'm tapping into that um, natural wisdom of my body.
Mhm.
And I'm not really freaking out about it. If I, and I'm not freaking out about it because
You're on the
most,
patch. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it just seems like a natural progression. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
share that.
Thanks for sharing that, Marcia. Okay, I think that Diane Hunt had a similar experience with her diet where I thought that when she started patching, she also started craving meat more. Anyway, so I don't know. I think yes, it is our way of our body telling us, and we need to listen to it for sure. So that's amazing. You need to keep us updated on your progress there. One half meatball at a time. All right, everybody. If there are no more questions, just wanting to let you know that this recording will be up on our respective YouTube channels. So Rachel Maurice has her YouTube channel. I have mine. So this will be up probably in an hour or so on there, and you can share it out, share it far and wide. Please reach out to the person that invited you on this call tonight, and they will answer more questions. They can set you up, and we are super excited and hope to see you on the team soon. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.